Hey guys, Mr. Regan. Since we had some snow days here, and it's been a little while since we last met, and we have a quiz tomorrow, I am doing a little review for sections 5 and 6. So if you want to pause the video when I get to the problem, and then you do the problem on your own, and then play the video, and you can watch me do it and see if our answers match. Alright, good luck. Alright, so we're solving these absolute value equations. Alright, so you're going to do this problem, stop it here, pause it, and then come on back and watch me. Alright, so we know we're going to get two solutions, so we're going to break it up into two parts. 2x plus 4 equals 17, or 2x plus 4 equals negative 17. So I just rewrote the equation, but I put a negative sign on the right equation and the word or in the middle. Alright, so I'm going to subtract 4 on both sides. Turns out I'll do that with both equations. 2x equals 13. 2x equals negative 21. Divide both sides by 2 on both equations. X equals, I can write 6½ or I can just leave it 13 halves, that's fine. Or, don't forget the word or. And this could be negative 10½ or I can just leave it negative 21 halves. And then that's my solution. X equals 13 over 2 or x equals negative 21 over 2. Alright. Next one, we got a little bit more work to do here because there's some numbers outside of the absolute value symbol. So we're going to take care of this first. We're going to add 6 to both sides. Just like solving a regular equation, we're going to take care of the adding and subtracting first. Cancels. I have 3 absolute value 4x minus 2 equals 9. Alright, I'm going to divide both sides by 3 to get rid of that 3. Cancels. Absolute value of 4x minus 2 equals 3. Right now I can divide it up into my two parts, take away that absolute value symbol, or I'm going to make that a negative 3. Add 2 to both sides, do that on both equations. We're running out of room here. That cancels. 4x equals 5. That cancels. 4x equals negative 1. Divide by 4. X equals 5/5, or 5/4, excuse me, or x equals negative 1/4. Alright, there you go. Now we got one more. Once again, there's things outside of this absolute value, so let's take care of that first. We'll subtract 12 on both sides. That cancels. 16 minus 12 is 4. Divide both sides by this negative 2. That cancels. 4 divided by negative 2 is negative 2. And at this point I'm going to stop because the absolute value of whatever x is never going to equal a negative. So I know here that the answer is no solution. Alright, now we're going to solve the inequality and graph it on a number line. So same kind of idea here. I am going to take care of this number outside of the absolute value sign first. I get the absolute value of 1/2 x plus 4. That canceled is less than 12. And now I can break this up into two parts. We have 1/2 x plus 4 is less than 12. And I'm going to use the word and here because of a less than. Less than is and. Then on the side, 1/2 x plus 4. I'll change the symbol to greater than, and I'll make it a negative 12. Alright, so I'm going to subtract 4 on both sides. Do that on both inequalities. That cancels. 1/2 x less than 8. That cancels. 1/2 x greater than negative 16. I'm going to multiply both sides by 2/1, the reciprocal of 1/2. And this all cancels. X is less than 16. And this all cancels. X is greater than negative 32. And we want to write our final answer as negative 32 less than x less than 16. That would be the way I'd like to write that. And then let's come up here and graph this. Here's my number line. There's my negative 32. There's my positive 16. There's no equal to sign, so we're going to circle those, and it's the segment connecting them. Alright, come over here now. Once again, I have something outside the absolute value symbol, so let's divide by 5 to get rid of that. They cancel. The absolute value of 2 minus x is greater than 4. Now I can break it up into two parts. 2 minus x is greater than 4. Greater means the word or. 2 minus x is less than, change the symbol and make it a negative 4. So I'm going to subtract 2 on both sides for both inequalities. And I have the opposite of x. Don't forget that negative sign in front of x. The opposite of x greater than 4 minus 2 is 2. That cancels. The opposite of x is less than negative 6. Okay, I don't want to really know what the opposite of x is. I want to know what x is, so I can either divide both sides by a negative 1 or multiply both sides by negative 1. So this turns into a positive, and then since I'm dividing both sides by a negative, this goes to less than. 2 divided by negative 1 is negative 2. This is an or. Once again, that becomes a positive. I'm dividing by a negative on both sides, so that becomes greater than. Negative 6 divided by negative 1 is positive 6. So that would be my solution. My graph, put a negative 2 there, put a 6 there, greater than 6 going that way, less than negative 2 going that way. Alright? Remember, you're going to pause the video, you try the problem, turn it back on, see how I do it, see if we match. Alright, so write the verbal model as an inequality, then solve the inequality. So the distance between x and 2 is at most 8. So I know these are absolute value sign problems, and distance means I'm subtracting. So x minus 2. At most, well, at most, what inequality symbol would that be? Well, if it can't be more than 8, but it could be equal to 8, then at most must be less than or equal to 8. Alright, I want to solve this. So I'm going to break that into two parts. X minus 2 less than or equal to 8. Less than means and. X minus 2. I'll change it to greater than or equal to and make it negative 8. Add 2 to both sides. Do that on both inequalities. X is less than or equal to 10. And 2 to both sides here. X is greater than or equal to negative 6. I would then rewrite that with the negative 6 less than or equal to x less than or equal to 10. That would be my solution. So any number between negative 6 and 10, including both. Alright, same kind of problem here. It's an absolute value problem. And the distance is subtracting. So negative 3 minus x for the distance between negative 3 and x. And greater than 5. Alright, break this up into two parts. Negative 3 minus x is greater than 5. Greater is or. Negative 3 minus x, change it to less than and make it negative 5. Alright, let's add 3 to both sides. They cancel. The opposite of x is greater than 8. That cancels. The opposite of x is less than negative 2. Okay, I don't want the opposite of x though. I want x, so I'm going to divide by negative 1. Do that on both sides for both inequalities. And I get x is, I'm going to change it to less than now because I divided by negative on both sides. Less than negative 8. This was an or. x, I'm going to change it to greater than positive 2. So any number that's bigger than 2, any number that's less than negative 8. Alright, word problem. A golf ball is supposed to weigh 1.62 ounces. The absolute error, this is going to be our absolute deviation kind of problem, is 0.05 ounces. Write and solve an absolute value equation to find the minimum and maximum weight of a golf ball. Alright, so I know it's x minus the given value, which is the 1.62, and this is equation, so it's going to equal my absolute deviation, or in this example, the absolute error, 0.05. Alright, I'm going to break this up into two parts. X minus 1.62 equals 0.05, or x minus 1.62 equals negative 0.05. We'll add 1.62 to both sides. Do that for both equations. That cancels. X equals 1.67, or that cancels. X equals 1.57. So it said to write and solve an absolute value equation, so I wrote it, I solved it to find the minimum and maximum. So the minimum, minimum is the 1.57 ounces, and the maximum is the 1.67 ounces. Alright? Alright, last one. Normal time it takes Mr. Regan to run a 5K race is 22 minutes with an absolute deviation of 1.5 minutes. Write and solve an absolute value inequality to represent this example. So once again, x minus the given value, which is the 22 minutes. This time it's absolute value inequality, and these are going to be less than or equal to, and this would be the 1.5 minutes. Okay, so when it's an equation, equal sign, inequality, it's going to be less than or equal to. Break this up into two parts. X minus 22 less than or equal to 1.5, and because of the less than, x minus 22 greater than or equal to negative 1.5. We'll add 22 to both sides. Do that for both inequalities. 1.5 plus 22 is 23.5, and negative 1.5 plus 22 is 20.5, and we would write that in a different form. We want to do the 20.5 down here, less than or equal to x less than or equal to 23.5, because it's all the values less than or equal to 23.5 and greater than or equal to 20.5. So it says write and solve an absolute value inequality. So I wrote it, I solved it to represent this example, and then that's it. It's all those numbers in between. Alright, there you go. Good luck. Hopefully this helps you, and we all do well in our quiz tomorrow.